Every morning you wake up, the world hasn't decided who you're going to be yet. That decision belongs to you. Before the noise, before the opinions, before the pressure, there's a moment, quiet, raw, real, where you speak life or limitation into yourself. What you say in that moment becomes the foundation of your day. Success isn't random. Confidence isn't luck. It's built from what you repeat to yourself when nobody's clapping. So if you want a stronger life, start with stronger self-talk. Here are 5 things you must say to yourself every single morning. The statement, "I am built for this," is not about pretending life is easy or ignoring how heavy things feel. It is about reminding yourself of your capacity when circumstances try to convince you otherwise. Every person reaches moments where the weight feels unfair, where progress is slow, and where doubt starts speaking louder than confidence. In those moments, your mind looks for an exit. It starts negotiating with excuses, fear, and past failures. Saying "I'm built for this" interrupts that mental spiral. It shifts your focus away from the discomfort and back to your strength. It's a declaration that you may be tired, but you are not incapable. You may be challenged, but you are not defeated. Life doesn't test people randomly. Challenges usually arrive when growth is required. Pressure shows up when you're being pushed beyond your previous limits, and that pressure feels uncomfortable because it's unfamiliar. Most people mistake discomfort for danger. They assume that if something feels hard, it must be wrong for them. But growth has never felt comfortable. Muscles don't grow without resistance, character doesn't form without adversity, and confidence doesn't appear without moments that test it. When you tell yourself "I'm built for this," you are reframing pressure as a sign of development rather than a signal to retreat. This mindset is rooted in evidence, not fantasy. You have already lived through days you thought you wouldn't survive. You've endured losses, failures, rejection, stress, and emotional weight that once felt unbearable. Yet here you are, still standing, still breathing, still moving forward. That history matters. Every challenge you survived added strength you didn't even realize you were developing at the time. Saying "I'm built for this" is acknowledging that your past proves your resilience. It reminds you that you are not starting from zero, you are starting from experience. This phrase also removes the option of quitting as a first response. When pressure hits, the human instinct is to escape. But escape rarely leads to growth. When you affirm that you're built for the moment you're in, you choose engagement over avoidance. You stop asking "How do I get out of this?" and start asking "How do I get through this?" That shift alone changes how you act. You become more patient, more focused, and more deliberate. You stop wasting energy on panic and start investing it in problem solving. Another powerful aspect of this belief is that it builds self-trust. Confidence isn't loud, it's quiet consistency. When you repeatedly tell yourself that you're built for hard moments and then show up anyway, your mind starts to believe you. Over time, fear loses its authority because you've proven you don't collapse under pressure. You may feel fear, but you don't obey it. You learn that strength doesn't mean feeling fearless, it means moving forward despite fear. This is how mental toughness is formed, through repeated exposure to difficulty without self-abandonment. Saying "I'm built for this" also aligns you with long-term growth instead of short-term comfort. Comfort keeps you safe, but it also keeps you small. Growth requires friction. When you accept that you were not designed to stay comfortable, you stop resenting struggle and start respecting it. You understand that challenges are not personal attacks, they are invitations to rise. This perspective doesn't make life painless, but it makes pain meaningful. And meaning gives you the endurance to keep going. A short example makes this clear. Imagine someone who finally starts building a better life, waking up earlier, working on a goal, staying disciplined. A few weeks in, exhaustion hits, progress feels invisible, and old habits start calling them back. One morning, they sit on the edge of the bed, overwhelmed, thinking about quitting. Instead of listening to that voice, they take a breath and say, "I'm built for this." Not loudly, not dramatically, just honestly. They remember past struggles they survived and choose to get up anyway. That single decision doesn't change their life instantly, but it preserves momentum. And momentum, repeated daily, changes everything. "I'm built for this" is not arrogance, it's grounded self-belief. It's the understanding that you don't need life to be easier. You need to be stronger, wiser, and more disciplined. And you already are becoming exactly that one difficult day at a time. Saying I move with purpose today is a decision to stop living on autopilot and start living with intention. Most people wake up and immediately react to messages, problems, opinions, obligations without ever deciding what actually deserves their energy. They stay busy from morning to night yet feel unfulfilled because their effort is scattered. Purpose is what turns movement into meaning. When you declare that you will move with purpose, you are choosing direction over distraction and clarity over chaos. You are no longer letting the day use you, you are using the day. Purpose begins in the mind before it ever shows up in action. The moment you say this sentence to yourself, you set a standard for how you will operate. You stop treating time as something to kill and start treating it as something to invest. Every action may not feel exciting, but it has a reason behind it. Purpose doesn't mean every moment is perfectly planned. It means every moment is aligned. Even rest becomes intentional when it serves recovery, clarity, or long-term focus instead of avoidance. This mindset is powerful because it protects you from distractions that look productive but lead nowhere. Distraction isn't always laziness. Sometimes it's busyness without direction. People often confuse motion with progress because being busy feels productive. But without purpose, effort leaks. You work hard, but you don't move forward. When you move with purpose, you become selective. You start asking better questions. Does this matter? Does this move me closer to who I'm trying to become? Is this urgent or is it just loud? These questions help you conserve energy and apply it where it actually counts. Moving with purpose also means acting from values instead of emotions. Emotions change daily. Purpose stays steady. There will be days when motivation is low, confidence is shaky, and results feel far away. Purpose carries you through those days. It reminds you why you started and who you're doing it for. You don't need to feel inspired to be effective, you just need to be intentional. Purpose keeps you grounded when feelings try to pull you off track. Another key aspect of purpose is that it shifts your relationship with time. Instead of feeling rushed or overwhelmed, you begin to feel focused. You understand that you don't need to do everything today. You only need to do the right things today. This removes unnecessary pressure and replaces it with precision. You stop chasing quick validation and start building long-term value. Small, purposeful actions done consistently will always outperform scattered bursts of effort. Purpose makes patience productive. Moving with purpose also changes how you respond to obstacles. When something doesn't go as planned, you don't panic or quit. You adjust. Purpose is flexible but firm. The path may change, but the direction doesn't. This keeps you from getting emotionally derailed by setbacks. You understand that resistance is part of progress, not a sign to stop. With purpose, you stop asking, why is this happening to me? And start asking, what is this teaching me? That mindset turns problems into tools instead of roadblocks. Purpose also strengthens self-respect. When you know why you're doing what you're doing, you stop needing constant approval. You don't move based on who's watching or clapping. You move because it aligns with your vision. This builds quiet confidence. You become less reactive to opinions and more committed to your own standards. Over time, this consistency compounds into credibility with yourself first and eventually with others. A short example makes this real. Imagine someone trying to improve their life while working a demanding job. After a long day, they feel drained and tempted to waste the evening scrolling or complaining. Before acting, they pause and say, I move with purpose today. Instead of trying to do everything, they choose one meaningful action, reading 10 pages, planning tomorrow, or working on a skill for 30 minutes. It doesn't feel dramatic, but it's intentional. That small choice repeated daily slowly changes their trajectory. Months later, they're further ahead, not because they did more, but because they did what mattered. I move with purpose today is not about perfection, it's about alignment. It's a reminder that your life is shaped less by big moments and more by daily decisions. When you move with purpose, every day becomes a brick in something solid. And over time, those bricks build a life that actually reflects your potential. Saying I don't need permission to become great is one of the most freeing decisions a person can make because it cuts the invisible chains that keep so many people stuck in potential instead of progress. From an early age, most people are conditioned to wait. They wait to be chosen, to be approved, to be encouraged, to be told they are good enough. This waiting slowly becomes a habit, and that habit turns into a quiet prison. Dreams get postponed, ideas stay unspoken, and ambition is watered down, not because of a lack of ability, but because of a constant need for validation. This single sentence breaks that pattern. At its core, this belief is about responsibility. When you stop waiting for permission, you stop outsourcing your confidence to other people. You accept that no one is coming to officially authorize your growth. No announcement will be made. No perf. ECT moment will arrive where everyone agrees you should move forward. Greatness has never worked that way. Every meaningful path is uncomfortable at first, misunderstood at times, and lonely more often than people admit. If you require approval before acting, you automatically limit yourself to what others can imagine for you, not what you are capable of building. Most people don't realize how much power they give away to opinions. A raised eyebrow, a doubtful comment, or a lack of support can quietly shut down momentum. But opinions are shaped by other people's fears, experiences, and limitations, not your potential. When you decide that you don't need permission, you stop letting external reactions dictate internal decisions. You understand that being. Doubted doesn't mean you're wrong. It often means you're early. History is full of people who were ignored, laughed at, or discouraged right before they proved everyone wrong. This mindset also forces you to develop inner discipline. When there's no external approval, applause, or encouragement, the only thing that keeps you moving is commitment. You learn to work without witnesses. You build when no one is watching. That process strengthens your character in ways praise never could. You stop chasing validation and start chasing standards. You ask yourself if your effort is honest, consistent, and aligned with your vision. Over time, this creates self-respect, which is far more valuable than temporary recognition. Another powerful aspect of this belief is that it removes the excuse of blame. When you wait for permission, it's easy to blame others for your lack of progress. You blame family, circumstances, lack of support, or timing. When you accept that you don't need permission, you also accept that responsibility is yours. That can feel heavy at first, but it's also empowering. Responsibility means control. Control means the ability to change your direction through your actions, not through other people's approval. This doesn't mean you stop listening to advice or feedback. It means you stop letting other people's comfort levels determine your ceiling. Guidance can be helpful, but permission is not required. You can respect others and still move independently. You can be humble and still be self-directed. Greatness doesn't come from rebellion for the sake of rebellion. It comes from clarity. When you know who you're becoming, you don't need everyone to understand it. You just need to stay consistent long enough for the results to speak. Living this way also prepares you for criticism. When you don't seek permission, criticism becomes background noise instead of a roadblock. You stop taking every opinion personally because you're anchored in your purpose. Some people will misunderstand you. Some will project their own fears onto your ambition. Some will support you only after you succeed. None of that can matter if you've already decided that your path doesn't require consensus. A short example makes this clear. Imagine someone who wants to start improving their life by learning a new skill or building something meaningful. They mention it to people around them and receive indifference or subtle discouragement. No one says, go for it, and some even question why they're trying. Instead of waiting for encouragement, they decide quietly, I don't need permission to become great. They wake up earlier, practice daily, and stay consistent without announcing it. Months later, progress is visible, not because others approved, but because they acted anyway. I don't need permission to become great is not arrogance, it's self-trust. It's the understanding that your life is your responsibility and your potential is not a group decision. When you stop waiting to be chosen, you choose yourself. And that choice is often the moment everything begins to change. Saying, I stay solid even when it's lonely, is a reminder that growth often requires separation, and separation often feels like loneliness before it looks like progress. When you decide to level up, your priorities change. Your time becomes more valuable, your focus sharper, and your tolerance for distraction lower. Naturally, this creates distance between you and people who are still comfortable where they are. That distance can feel uncomfortable, even painful, because humans are wired for connection. But loneliness in this phase is not a sign that you're doing something wrong. It's often evidence that you're doing something different. Loneliness during growth usually comes from alignment, not rejection. You're no longer available for every conversation, every hangout, every habit that once filled your days. You're saying no to things that don't serve your future and yes to things that demand discipline and sacrifice. To people who don't share your vision, this can look like arrogance, distance, or change. In reality, it's concentration. You're not trying to be better than anyone else. You're trying to be better than who you used to be. That requires space to think, to plan, and to build without constant noise. Staying solid means holding your values steady when it would be easier to bend them for comfort or approval. It's easy to stay disciplined when people support you. It's much harder when no one understands what you're working toward. This is where character is built. When nobody is watching, clapping, or checking on your progress, the only thing that keeps you moving is self-respect. You learn to keep promises to yourself, even when breaking them would go unnoticed. That quiet integrity becomes your foundation. Loneliness also strips away performance. When there's no audience, you stop doing things to impress and start doing things that matter. You don't need to explain your grind to anyone. You dawn. You need to announce your plans, you just work. This phase teaches you to rely on internal validation instead of external reassurance. You begin to trust your own judgment, your own timing, and your own process. That trust is essential because the higher you go, the fewer people there will be who can truly relate to your journey. There's also a strength that comes from being alone with your thoughts. Solitude forces self-honesty. Without distractions, excuses get exposed. You can no longer blame others for your lack of progress or direction. You confront your weaknesses, your fears, and your habits directly. This can feel uncomfortable, but it's necessary. Growth requires clarity, and clarity often comes in silence. When you stay solid through this phase, you come out more grounded, more self-aware, and more intentional. It's important to understand that staying solid doesn't mean cutting everyone off or becoming cold. It means choosing quality over quantity, alignment over familiarity. Some people won't be able to walk with you into the next chapter, not because they're bad, but because their path is different. Accepting this without resentment is part of maturity. You don't burn bridges, you simply stop crossing them daily. You move with respect, but you don't slow down your growth to keep others comfortable. Lonely seasons are often preparation seasons. They build mental toughness, emotional control, and patience. They teach you how to sit with discomfort without escaping it through distractions or validation. When success eventually arrives, it doesn't overwhelm you because you've already learned how to stand alone. You're not dependent on attention or approval to feel secure. You know who you are because you built that identity in silence. A short example makes this clear. Imagine someone who decides to change their life by becoming more disciplined, waking up early, working on a goal, and cutting out habits that waste time. Slowly, invitations stop coming. Friends joke about them being too serious or different. Some nights feel quiet, even lonely. Instead of going back to old patterns for company, they remind themselves, I stay solid even when it's lonely. They use that quiet time to study, plan, and improve. Months later, the progress is undeniable. What once felt like loneliness reveals itself as the space that made growth possible. Staying solid when it's lonely is not about suffering in silence. It's about honoring your future over temporary comfort. The road won't always feel full, but it will be meaningful. And often the destinations that change your life are only reached by those willing to walk alone for a while. Saying I'm playing the long game is a powerful mental shift that changes how you see effort, time, and results. Most people quit not because they are incapable, but because they expect progress to arrive faster than reality allows. They underestimate how long meaningful success takes and overestimate how quickly things should work. When results don't show up on that timeline, frustration replaces patience and discipline collapses. The long game mindset protects you from this trap. It reminds you that anything worth building takes time, repetition, and resilience, and that rushing the process often destroys the very thing you're trying to create. Playing the long game means understanding that progress is rarely dramatic. It's quiet, slow, and often invisible in the early stages. You can be doing everything right and still feel like nothing is happening. This is where many people lose faith. They mistake silence for failure. But the long game teaches you that growth happens beneath the surface before it ever shows on the outside. Just like roots grow before the tree rises, your habits, discipline, and mindset are developing before the results become obvious. When you accept this, you stop panicking over short-term outcomes and start trusting consistent effort. This mindset also balances patience with urgency. Playing the long game does not mean moving slowly or lazily. It means showing up every day with intensity while accepting that rewards are delayed. You work hard today, not because you expect immediate applause, but because today's effort compounds into tomorrow's strength. You don't procrastinate, but you also don't rush. You move with focus, knowing that consistency beats intensity when intensity isn't sustainable. This balance keeps you grounded and prevents burnout. Another important aspect of the long game is how it reframes failure. When you're chasing quick wins, failure feels personal and devastating. But when you're playing long term, failure becomes information. Losses don't define you, they educate you. Mistakes are not signs that you should quit, but signals showing you what needs adjustment. This perspective keeps your confidence intact even when outcomes don't go your way. You understand that setbacks are part of the process, not proof that the process is wrong. Playing the long game also protects you from shortcuts. Shortcuts promise fast results but often come with hidden costs. Weak foundations, compromised values, or unsustainable success. When you commit to the long game, you value durability over speed. You build skills properly. You develop discipline honestly. You grow into the person capable of handling success, not just achieving it. This is crucial because success without maturity often collapses under pressure. The long game ensures that when results arrive, you're strong enough to keep them. This mindset also changes how you compare yourself to others. Instead of feeling discouraged by someone else's quick progress, you stay focused on your own path. You understand that everyone's timeline is different, and that comparison only steals energy. Some people sprint and burn out, others move steadily and last. Playing a long game means you're not competing for attention, you're competing for longevity. You care less about being seen early and more about still being standing later. There is also a deep confidence that comes with this belief. It's not loud or arrogant. It's quiet and steady. You don't need constant validation because you trust your process. You know that if you keep showing up, learning, and improving, results are inevitable. This confidence allows you to stay calm during delays and composed during pressure. You're not desperate, because desperation belongs to people chasing quick outcomes. You're committed, and commitment outlasts motivation every time. A short example brings this to life. Imagine someone working toward improving their life, learning a skill, building discipline, or creating something meaningful. Months go by with little recognition and slow progress. Friends seem to move faster, and doubt creeps in. Instead of quitting, they remind themselves, I'm playing the long game. They keep practicing, refining, and improving daily. A year later, their skill level is undeniable, while many others who rushed or quit are nowhere to be found. Their patience didn't delay success, it created it. Playing the long game is ultimately about faith and compound effort. It's choosing depth over speed, substance over appearance, and endurance over excitement. When you live by this mindset, you stop chasing moments and start building legacies. You understand that every disciplined day is a brick laid towards something bigger than today. And one day when results finally show, they won't feel lucky or sudden. They'll feel earned. Say these 5 things every morning, not like a wish, but like a contract with yourself. Speak them with conviction, because words shape mindset and mindset shapes destiny. The world will try to tell you who you are, what you're worth, and what you can't do. Don't let it. Win the morning and you win the day. Win the day and eventually you win your life. Stay disciplined, stay focused, stay hungry. And never forget, everything you're looking for starts with what you tell yourself when you wake up.